ear in Morning Drive. What's Morning Drive? It's that time in the AM when commuters in Baltimore, Boston, and Biloxi are stuck in their cars on the way to work. So it's a golden opportunity for radio stations everywhere to showcase what they do best.
King 1090 news time is 8:06, and good morning. Welcome to
Seattle, Thursday, August 29th. The top story of the morning is the closing of a suburban daycare center. Methane gas from a nearby dump is the problem. A bigger problem for King Radio is making the story sexy, something that'll play all morning. On the one hand, it's the kind of item that newscasters crave, a double hook, kids and toxic waste. But it's just one story among many. There's time to fill and an audience of fickle listeners. Twice through, and they'll know all they ever wanted about methane gas. Time to move on.
King 1090 news time is 8:07. We've actually dropped a couple of degrees.
This is Morning Drive at its most driven. King and its chief rival Cairo are slugging it out for the top spot. In Seattle, being number one hinges on the power of news. In Baltimore, it might be the power of love.
That's the power of love.
With the recent demise of all news radio in Baltimore, the competition for listeners has reached a fever pitch.
Brian and O'Brien on B-104, the number 2 rated morning show in Baltimore. Everybody else is number 1, so we decided to be number 2.
Brian Wilson and Don O'Brien bring Midnight Madness to Morning Drive, but it's as calculated as any other format you'll find on the radio dial. They still play by the rules, even if it appears they've tossed those rules right out the window.
Oh, God, come on. What do you want to hear? Pick another one.
Lucky Star.
Oh, God. All this Madonna garbage. I can't believe it. You probably wear all that junky jewelry and don't shave your armpits. Everything gets so over-formulated. You know, they got all their consultants and all their research and call out and stuff like that. And we know it's good. You know, you read what's in the paper. You hear what people like. They call up here on the telephone. We have a good time. We have a good time. That's what people want. If you want to have a good time, this is the place. You want to go to sleep? Check out those other stations they're reporting on.
Baltimore's most popular all-around station is WLIF, what the industry calls easy contemporary. A croissant to the animal crackers over at B-104. Here, too, they claim to know what you want.
We have given our listeners the information that they need, from news to live traffic reports, pleasant personality on the air, Dick and Debbie, our morning team, and presented music in a fashion that people can enjoy and continue on to work or home or throughout the rest of the day, and be very comfortable with without getting all keyed up or jarred.
Music, then, is the key to a happy life, in Morning Drive anyway. But news is about to be added to the mix here as never before. Former WCBM newscaster and radio veteran Dave Humphrey will join Dick Ireland and Debbie Seri.
Right now, let's check on Friday morning rush hour traffic.
Soon, there may be a traffic jam on the airwaves to match the one on the Beltway. But at WBAL, news director Tom Clendenning welcomes the competition.
This has been the #1 station in Baltimore for 60 years now. People grew up listening to guys like Galen Fromm. They're listening to guys like Mark Weaver doing news in the morning now, and I think we'll continue to cover the city.
Nothing, though, is harder to gauge than the changing tastes of consumers. And right now, Baltimore's ears are up for grabs.
I used to try and hear the news in the morning at WCBM, but now that that's off, I really don't have a loyal station.
Well, joining us now for another view of the Morning Drive for Supremacy is Sunday Sun radio columnist Jack Dawson.
Thank you for joining us. Now, it appears there's a healthy appetite for news here in Baltimore. Why did WCBM abandon their all-news format, you think?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious, the bottom line, and that is that news doesn't pay in this market or any other, really. There might be room for one good news station in a city the size of Baltimore, but quite frankly, people are not all that tuned into news. I mentioned to Rick earlier that WCBM had ratings of 3.5. Maybe I think it was 3.4 to be precise. BAL has ratings of 13.7 in the morning drive time, which is the key time for news. There's only room for one radio station, and that's WBAL in terms of news. Everything else is frankly fluff.
Well, if music is magic for LIF, are they making a mistake adding this more news to their mix?
Well, I'm not sure how much news they're really adding to their mix. We'll have to wait for them to show us a little more than what they've shown us, because quite frankly they're devoted to the music format. They don't have a staff for Mr. Humphrey. I understand it'll be some months before they make that decision on whether or not what they've got is a real pro, and he'll do a good job, but in a very limited way.
Well, we've seen and heard about the rise and popularity of FM radio. Is that causing AM to suffer, and does WBAL have reason to worry?
I don't think so, because WBAL was stated in your news bit there, has been #1 for a number of years. It's still #1 in terms of the news audience. They're still #2 overall in the market. I understand that very recently they showed a net profit of millions, and I think they'll continue to do that because they have such a stronghold, and there always will be a market for news and information. I think information is maybe downplayed. It's maybe sometimes more important than the news. What we want is information on the weather, on the traffic, on those kind of breaking events that affect our lives driving to work.
Okay. But there appears to be more sampling going on.
Exactly.
At this
Okay.
time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jack Dawson of the Sunday Sun.
Well, next we'll show you where to go for